when we're talking about things where God has been clear in his word about what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's not true, that's where we want to have common convictions and say, we're both going to bow to what God says, no matter what our preferences are in this situation.
Oftentimes we just have differing opinions on things. But the other thing that I see sometimes is that, like, I'm so certain, and it's not necessarily a pride issue or a selfishness issue. It's just that I'm certain I'm right about something, and he's certain he's right about something. And that, I think, is really hard to reconcile with each other, because I don't even know how to explain that. We both are just certain that our side is right. And so how do you, when you come to this, road where this impasse, how do you deal with that? Because that, I think, at least for us, can sometimes lead to disagreements where I'm like, but I know you think you're right, but I know I'm right, but I know you think you're right, and I desperately want to work it out, and he desperately wants to work it out. And we always do, God's good to always work things through with us. But that's so hard when I'm just like, but you don't understand. I just want you to understand what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling about this.
So I think what you've identified, and I think all of us have been through this. I'll give you a real simple example of how this works out. And this will be trivial, but it illustrates a bigger point. We were driving home from church one day, and we had for many Sundays gone in separate cars because I had to go earlier for church stuff. And this day we happened to be in the same car. And so we got to a stoplight, and Marianne said, aren't you going to turn right here? And I said, no, I'm going to go straight. And she said, but if you turn right, you miss the stoplights. And I said, if you turn right, you go a mile farther than if you go this way. And she goes, but you don't have the stoplights to deal with. And by this time my light had turned green and we went straight. And she's just shaking her head like, this is the wrong way to go home, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, no, I can show you on the map that I just saved a mile's worth of gas and we got through the stoplights just fine. Well, okay, so what's going on there on something simple and trivial like that is we have our patterns and our routines, and we do them because they make sense to us. When somebody challenges that, they're really challenging deeply held things. We've always done it this way, and it just seems right to us.
Yeah.
And we may even have reasons why, like Marianne's reason, I want to go right because I don't want the stoplights. And I'm thinking, well, I want to go straight because I don't want to go as far in the car. So we were valuing different priorities there. That doesn't mean my priority is right, hers is wrong. It just means we value different things. And most of the time, when you examine those times when you go, I'm right, no, I'm right, you really just have different priorities, different values, things that matter more to you than to somebody else. And that's where we have to pull back and go, are these at a conviction level or are they at a preference level? Is this just something that I prefer to not to miss the stoplights, even if I have to go a little farther? I prefer, Marianne and I have talked about personality differences. She tends to be very structured, planned out. I tend to be more spontaneous. Now, which of those is the right way to be? Well, in some circumstances, you need to be spontaneous. In other circumstances, you need to be planned out. She tends to default in one direction and feels most comfortable in that. I default in another direction, feel most comfortable. We've had to learn, how do we honor the other person and who God made them to be? How do we benefit in our marriage from each other's differences without being irritated by the fact that you don't think like me or act like me or see everything exactly the way I see it? Now, with all of that said, we have to come back and say, when we're talking about things where God has been clear in his word about what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's not true, that's where we want to have common convictions and say, we're both going to bow to what God says, no matter what our preferences are in this situation.
Yeah.
So a husband who says, well, I think it would spice up our marriage if we watched this movie before we went to bed. And a wife goes, we can't do that because the Bible says that there'd be a lust issue going on. You know, there are biblical convictions there. That's not
Sure.
just a preference issue. And that's at a whole different level than just what are our preferences in marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. Great stuff. However, the most important question now is, do you really think Rocky Road is the best ice cream at Baskin-Robbins?
No, I really like chocolate peanut butter better than that.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought you were going to say chocolate chip because chocolate chip is clearly the right answer.
You and Marianne can go to Baskin-Robbins together.
Does
You'd
she
be
like
buds.
chocolate chip too?
She does like chocolate chip, yes. She likes
she is a
Brahms
good
chocolate
woman.
chip.
Yeah. You know, Brahms chocolate chip is close to
Yes.
Baskin-Robbins. And it's like probably a
lot
fifth of the
cheaper.
cost.
Exactly.
But it's not quite the same. So
Yeah, I know.
here,
But it's a good thing I don't live in driving distance of a Brahms. I'd be in trouble.
Homeschool Insights is sponsored by CTC Math. If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com and try it for free. For more great homeschool inspiration and resources, listen to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.